The Lions has torn the Tigers apart. Chelsea has marched into the FA Cup 5th round after a ruthless 4-0 demolition of Hull City. From the genius of Pedro Neto experiment to the lockdown Caicedo-Santos partnership and a perfect debut for Mamadou Sarr. As far as the 5 things we learned from Hull City 0, Chelsea 4. But before we get into this review, if you are new here, welcome to the channel. But if you have been following me for a while, you know the drills. Help your boy get to that 10k subscriber mark. Let's dive into it. Look, let's be real for a second. That funny demolition of Hull City at the MKM Stadium wasn't just a win. It was a cleansing ritual. We all know how this FA Cup away days goes. They are the ultimate banana skin fixture. You turn up on a cold night and the home crowd is buzzing. If you are coming off a demoralizing result like that Leeds draw, which we are, it's usually a recipe for disaster. But Chelsea, we didn't just survive. We dominated. We took the narrative and ripped it up. I reminded everyone who we are. And that leads me to the first thing we learned, the perfect response. We have to talk about the context. Before we stepped onto the pitch at MKM Stadium, the air around the club was heavy. We are coming off that frustrating stalemate against Leeds United, where we surrendered a 2-0 lead at Stamford Bridge. People were talking, critics were sharpening their knives, questioning our resilience and whether this young defensive core have the maturity to see a game through. Look at the team sheet Liam Rossinier put out. Sanchez in goal, a defense of James Fofana, Mamadou Sarr and Juraheto. The midfield of Caicedo and Santos, an attack of Neto, Extoval, Garnacho and Delap leading the line. And for 105th game consecutive, Chelsea have named a starting 11 without a single player aged 30 or older. To put that in perspective, the next longest run in Premier League history is 47 by Aston Villa back in the 90s. We aren't just building a team, we are conducting a history-making experiment in youths. And the history didn't stop there. By the final whistle, we secured a record. A 9 out of 9. Chelsea has now won all 9 matches of their FA Cup tie against Hull City, the most tie played by one team against another with a 100% success rate in the history of the competition. Pure dominance. And we didn't just win, we suffocated them. 78% ball possession, 13 shots, 2 big chances, an XG of 0.99 to Chelsea 1.93. And Liam Rossinier said it best himself after the game. The most pleasing aspect was the mentality. There were credit to the club. It was really a strong performance in terms of mental application. You need to be successful. That 4-0 win was a psychological palate cleanser we desperately needed. It killed the choke narrative stone dead. We stayed concentrated for the full 90 minutes, validating the accountability Liam Rossinier has been preaching. But we have to talk about the man leading the line. Liam Delap had a massive impact today. He finished with a 7.5 rating, 3 assists, 37 touches, 3 successful dribbles. But here is the kicker. It was a tale of 2 halves. His first half, let's be honest, was pretty poor. He looked isolated, his touch was off, and the frustration was visible. But the second half, he was a different beast entirely. He adjusted, he fought, he ended up being the creative engine for 3 of our goals. But moving on to the second thing we learned, and that is the Pedro Neto experiment. Now, if you told me before the kickoff that I would see Pedro Neto playing as a central attacking midfielder, a literal 10, I would have told you to slow down on your gogoro. But wow, what a revelation. We have spent most of this season watching Pedro Neto blaze down the wing, rotating left and right under Moresca, and while he was good, 9 goals involvement is nothing to sniff at. The critics were shouting about his on and off performance and a lack of consistent end product. Moving him central didn't just work, it unleashed a different monster. Neto finished the game with a ridiculous 9.4 rating, 3 goals, 2 key passes, 1 accurate cross, 92% accurate pass, 5 shots, 4 on targets. Pedro Neto have now scored 10 goals in a season for the first time in his career. Let that sink in. We are not just seeing a winger anymore, we are seeing a clinical finisher. And talk about history. Check this out. Chelsea are the first Premier League side to see a hat-trick scored in consecutive away game in all competition since Spurs in 2017. Fofana versus Wolves, now Pedro Neto versus Hull. Treble. And wait, it even gets freakier. Pedro Neto hat-trick was the first by a Chelsea player on a Friday since George Hudson in 1909, and the first ever by a top-flight player in a match on Friday the 13th. Freaky. It actually makes sense. Neto's short stride and insane agility makes him a nightmare for fullbacks out wide. But in those congested central corridor, his ability to twist and turn at pace is illegal. He produced a total masterclass, including 2 absolute bangers that showed his elite ball striking ability. But we can't talk about the attack without mentioning the boy from Brazil. Extova was phenomenal on that right wing. He finished with a 7.5 rating, 1 goal, 91% accurate passes, 53 touches, 4 successful dribbles. And here is the stat that every other club should be terrified in Europe. Extova has 7 goals in all competition for Chelsea this season, the most by any teenager for club in a season in the Premier League era. Samba. We are witnessing the birth of a new era of Chelsea attack, and it's terrifyingly young. Which leads me to the third team, and that is Mamadou Sarr debut from heaven. Now we have to talk about the defense, because while goals were flying up front, something special was happening at the back. We are talking about the perfect debut of Mamadou Sarr. The summer window was a roller coaster. We were obsessed about Jeremy Jacques. We had personal terms agreed. We were ready to pay the £56 million, and then Liverpool pulled off that deadline hijack of £60 million. And then we recalled Mamadou Sarr from his loan at Strasbourg, and he didn't just arrive as a prospect, he arrived as a continental champion. My boy played the full 190 minutes in AFCON final for Senegal, stepping up for Koulibaly. That is maturity and tactical understanding you don't just see in a 20 years old. And Leon Rossinier knows exactly what he's doing. Listen to what he said. Mamadou Sarr was everything I expect. I know Mamadou so well, and I think his acclimatization and adaptation process hopefully will be fast because he already understands how I want to play. And boy did he understand the assignment. We finished with a monster 8.5 rating, 7 defensive contribution, 4 clearance, 2 shot blocked, 6 recoveries, 3 aerial duel won, 0 time dribbled past. But it is work on the ball that actually had us losing our minds. Mamadou Sarr completed 101 out of 103 passes in 98% accuracy versus Hull City tonight. He also completed 3 of his attempted long crosses with 100% accuracy. 101 passes and only 2 missed. That's not just a debut, that's a statement. Sarr provided that versatility, flexibility that Leon Rossinier craves. He was forceful, quick and powerful. He looked like a world-class potential anchor who could step into the midfield and cover the wings without breaking a sweat. My question is, who need a £60 million signing when you have got a champion waiting in the wings? And that brings me to the fourth team, and that is the Caicedo-Santos synergy. Now, if you want to know why we looked so untouchable at MKM Stadium, you have to look at the center of the park. The stabilization of this Chelsea team under Leon Rossinier is centered on one thing: the partnership of Moises Caicedo and Andre Santos. And I'm going to say it, and I know some of you are going to debate me in the comments, but this pairing is increasingly looking like the best midfield duo we have seen in this club in years. It's aging like a fine wine, getting smoother and more synchronized with every single match. And look, I have to give the flowers where they are due. In my opinion, Andre Santos was actually the better midfield out of the two today. The boy was everywhere. He finished with a 7.8 rating, 138 touches, 90% accurate passes, 7 defensive contribution, 2 tackles, 1 interception, 3 clearance, 4 recoveries, 4 ground duel won, 4 area duel won. That is a dynamic and versatile masterclass. Santos has this incredible ability to transition between the number 6 and number 8 role seamlessly. He used Caicedo's recent suspension as fuel to really prove his worth, and boy did he prove it. But he couldn't do it without his partner in crime. Moises Caicedo was an elite ball winner and a refined anchor that allowed everyone else to shine. He finished with a 7.1 rating, 2 key passes, 91 touches, 90% accurate passes, 2 successful dribbles, 3 defensive contribution, 5 recoveries, 4 ground duel won. The synergy here is perfect. Caicedo's ability to win and recycle possession allows us to dictate the tempo and feed those creative monsters like Neto and Extova. But it's more than tactics. Santos has gone on record calling Moises Caicedo incredible and a massive source of motivation since day one. That of the pitch leadership from Moises Caicedo is what accelerated Santos' adaptation to the Premier League. Together they form a double pivot that provides the perfect balance between defense and attack. This is a sustainable midfield we have been craving for since last season's experimental phases. Against Hull City, these two ensured we had a stronghold on the game. They shut down the transitional spaces that Leeds exploited so well, turning the midfield into a no-go zone for the Tigers. If these two stay together, we aren't just winning games, we are dominating them. And that leads me to the last and final thing we learned. And that is Joao Hato is promising. And finally, we have to talk about the left-hand side of our defense. When Marco Cucurella went down with that fresh injury blow against Leeds, I won't lie, I was worried, but it forced our hands. And we got to see a proper shift from Joao Hato. Now let's be honest with each other. Hato's early start at Chelsea was, well, it was rocky. A few stinkers and underwhelming moments at left centre back had some fans calling him a liability. But this 19 years old is the definition of a long-term project. We are stockpiling elite young talent, but talents like this needs time to bake. Against Hull City, we saw a version of Hato we were promised when he arrived. He finished with a 6.4 rating, 8 defensive contribution, 3 interception, 5 clearance, 5 recoveries, 2 key passes, 91% accurate passes. You can see those Ajax Academy principles dripping off him. Even though he's a defender by trade, he's an excellent ball carrier with that low center gravity and a nimble footwork. He was driving forward, kick-starting attack from deep. He played that inverted left back role with an above average technical capacity, stepping into midfield and creating those overloads we love so much. And look, if you are very frustrated with his development, just remember Marco Cucurella was poor at the beginning of his Chelsea career. He was the target for everything. Now he has evolved into one of the best left back in the world. Hato is only 19, he's much earlier in his arc, but his ceiling might actually be higher. This is a kid who was the youngest ever Ajax captain in history. That leadership and maturity is built in. Right now, he's a solid backup and a good rotational option, but after that Hull City performance, it's clear we aren't just surviving without Cucurella, we are developing a future star. So there you have it. 5 things we learned from a night we didn't just win. We cleansed the palette and set the tone for the rest of the season. We dominated, we are clinical, we are moving on. What do you think? Was Pedro Neto move to the 10 a one-off, or is that his new home? And are you sold on Mamadou Sarr yet? Drop your thoughts in the comment section. And with that said, that's the end of the video, my friends. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.